Thomas, how are you, mate? You keeping well? You training today? Good afternoon, folks. How's y'all keeping? Yeah, I've had a couple of conversations with a few lads over the last maybe 4 or 5 days, and each one of them have got different backgrounds, different stories, different experiences, but the energy, the theme running through what they're saying is identical. And these guys, they came into the gym to train. Clive, how are you, mate? Haven't seen you in a long time. They all came to the gym to train with the idea of getting in shape and the idea of getting stronger, and they want to be better and look better. But there was a disconnect within each and every one of them, a similar energy running through each one of them. And through the conversations, it basically came down to an uncomfortable topic that men want to avoid. I know I avoided it literally my entire life until I was 45 maybe. And that was self-love. I don't mean jerking off. I mean actually loving yourself. And the same thing, these 3 guys or 4 guys were doing the same thing. They were coming to the gym to prove to themselves that they were worthy. But their actions, what they were asking their body to do, was too much too soon. And it was almost like this unconscious reaction that if they did something they weren't capable of doing, it could prove to themselves on a really deep unconscious level that they weren't worthy. And it was through this conversation I had with them, and I don't know where it came from. I just seen these things, and I probed and I poked, and a couple of guys broke down in tears. Obviously there wasn't that many, there was no one else in the gym, but a couple of guys started to cry. And that was another thing that I've noticed is, I've spoken about this a lot, is that men and their inability to cry is the reason why so many of us are living a complete lie. We're just pretending to be someone we're not so that we feel safe. And I know this intrinsically because I used to do this all the time. I just couldn't cry until I done Bufo, and then Bufo didn't give me any option. I bawled like a baby. And since that point I've been able to cry. But I always said to guys, it wasn't the actual act of crying that's the problem for men. It's the intention behind the tears that matters. And when you think about it, like I use this example an awful lot. If I'm out with my mates and we're in a bar, the bar's packed, and one of us cracks a joke, like a real belly buster of a joke, you'll be falling about the floor and you'll be in stitches and you'll be tears falling out of your eyes, and everyone in the bar will look around at this group of men who are crying their eyes out with laughter. And because the energy behind the tears is not vulnerability, it's not very personal. There's no issue with it. There's no problem with it. But when you get guys having to expose how they feel, the repressed emotions, then the tears take on a different meaning, and we're able to lock them away. You know, that ball in the throat, we just shut it right down there, and then we get angry usually, and we'll get snarky at someone, or we'll attack them for bringing us to that point, and we'll justify something, or we'll throw a tantrum like the inner child who's keeping herself safe, the ego, and we'll just respond that way to push the threat away. And that's what happened to me that's what I used to do, and then that's what happened with the guys. But because I could see the pattern and I could see what was happening, I kept on probing and probing and probing, and eventually we got to the crux of the problem. And it's the same for every guy. And the more and more I look into it, and the more I think about it, and the more I base my own experiences and my lessons and what I've learned along this journey, the more I see that thread running through nearly every man's journey. We will latch on to men we see as powerful or strong or brave or alphas, whatever way you want to describe them. You see them on TikTok, you see them on Instagram, Facebook, you see them public. And we create this persona of who they are and what we think they are. And then automatically we judge ourselves off what we think these guys are. And it's invariable that the version that we conjure up about ourselves is going to be, if this is the truth, if this is what true is, we're going to be this way towards the lie of lesser than we actually are. We're going to create a story of what we can't do and how much we're not going to be capable of doing, etc., etc. And then the inverse is true for the guy that we're admiring. We're going, he's so much more than he is. We put him on a pedestal, and then we get this false dichotomy of where you put him and where you think you are. And it's probably a lot closer than we actually give ourselves credit for, because we tend to internalize our experiences in a negative way. The lessons life gives us, the challenges, we tend to bring that failure and internalize it and make it personal. We attach the emotion of the experience to it, and then that emotion dictates our next action, or how we approach the next time, the feeling, the energy within us. And we have this really bad habit of preventing ourselves from achieving our goals, and then projecting our failures onto the people we love, because it's easier for us to blame them and find a reason, a story in our own head that fits the experience to project onto them, so that we don't have to look at ourselves. And this is causing physical, mental and emotional issues throughout society, because the more I see us men running away from our challenges, and the more you think about the ancestors that came before us and what they faced on a daily basis and how they were challenged on a daily basis compared to what we go through, you know, it's nothing. But that's the physical, the emotional, the mental side of things. It's become greater in today's society. And the reason I see it's becoming greater is because men have a direct correlation between who they feel they are, what they think about themselves, and what they physically have to overcome on a daily basis. The more physical things we overcome, the stronger our minds become. And we're able to then recognize parts of ourselves that are lying dormant at the moment. And emotionally, we're more stable. Men, without doubt, need challenge. We need to be pushed. We need to seek out our limitations, because it's through finding our limitations do we discover the man that lurks within. Because when we go back to our thinking, it goes back to the example I said about how we elevate other men to a higher status than ourselves. We tend to elevate the challenge over our abilities. What we perceive as too much for us isn't actually the case. The problem is we don't have the fortitude within ourselves to push ourselves to go and discover it. I always liken hiking as a great way of discovering your limitations. If you decide to go camping, to go on like a wild camping retreat or thing with your mate for 2 or 3 days, where you're just hiking all day, every day, there comes a point where you're halfway and you're tired. And if there was a get out of jail free card, you would take it. But to get back to the starting point, it's just as far as it is to get to the end point. So either way, you've only got one of two options. You keep going, or you sit down and wait to die. And no one's going to sit down and wait to die. We're going to suddenly find those aspects of ourselves that we didn't realise exist. We're going to have to tap into areas that we no longer use on a regular basis. And it's through that experience of physicality that the mental game starts. And if you have that awareness, the experience of going through this physical challenge will start creating a conversation in your own mind. It's been able to discover, or been able to recognize the theme that's traveling through that conversation. Like, I use this example to guys. It's like, I want you to not say anything. Don't say it out loud. And just say, I know, TikTok. Just say TikTok in your own head. You said it. Now, who was that? Who said that? Who said TikTok? Because I'm speaking now, but I can think that in my head. And I can hear that voice in my head. And if you want to go really deep, whoever that voice is, with the subconscious, the higher self, split personality, I don't know, I can't answer that question. But if you go into that and you think to yourself, well, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And if I speak, that's a vibration. You're hearing it. It's impacting you in a certain way. Maybe it's unconscious, maybe it's conscious, maybe it's making you think something, maybe you're thinking I'm nuts, maybe you're thinking I'm fucking spot on. But whatever it is, my words are a vibrational frequency that's affecting you in a certain way. And your words are also affecting you in a certain way. And the words you say are usually created from a subconscious belief within yourself. I always say, I notice this myself a lot. And it's funny enough, it's the reason I do these talks live. It's because what I've noticed in patterns of others, when I watch live or I listen to people talk, or I know people well and I hear their conversations, I notice that what they're always telling others we should do is the very thing they can't do themselves. And I noticed that in myself, that I would often tell people to do things that I couldn't do myself, and I was getting annoyed because they weren't doing the things that I said they should do, even though I couldn't do them. So I started to recognize this in others, exes and fucking parents and friends, and they would tell you what to do, and they would continually tell you what to do, and you'd find yourself going, that's what you should be doing. Why the fuck aren't you doing that? Why do you keep telling me? And I started to recognize this. This is what I do. I create patterns. I see patterns everywhere. It's a curse sometimes. And then I started watching people on TikTok and Instagram to listen to what they were saying. People I knew, and I'd be like, holy fuck, they're telling me what I should be doing and stuff they should be doing. So then I started going back into my old videos on Facebook, etc. When I was angry, before ayahuasca, before this journey I went on happened. And everything I was saying, everything I was getting angry about was directed at other guys. But it was actually me. I was telling myself what I should be doing. And I was getting annoyed. And that, what I called passion, was just frustration within me. Because I couldn't step up and do exactly what I was telling others to do. I was a fraud. I was basically living a lie. And that made me realise most people are living a lie. I'd say 90%, 95%, maybe 99% of us are living lies. Wife keep telling me what the? Don't get you, buddy. Need to rewrite that one. Yeah, we're all living lies because none of us have the courage to do what it is we're here to do, to really go for our soul purpose. And when I get to these points, this is when I start realising that I'm starting to step into something new, and this is the journey I'm about to go on. And I recognise it in myself now. Like I've said, for years, training men has been what I've always done, and I'm good at it. But there's always been this frustration in me that we can never seem to achieve the goals we're after. And that's when, got to thank the ex for this, the realisation about this thing. We were meeting, Gail and I were in here at a meeting about 8 weeks ago, maybe 10 weeks ago, with the health minister. I'm the chief medical officer. He was watching my friends play on his son's suicide. And I was talking about my goal about getting men moving. And I was explaining about my training Trinity principle, where I believe the fitness industry just focuses on one point of the industry, of what health is, and that's the fitness, the physical. So I'm a believer in the Trinity. You've got the emotional, the mental, and the physical. And if you don't train all three and you don't focus on all three, you're always going to be lacking. And you're going to probably favour one over the other two. A lot of guys who get themselves in shape will focus on the physicality, and they will hide their emotional and mental state through lifting heavier weights, always needing to get bigger, stronger, be the strongest, be the fittest, be the fastest. You can see it. You can see these guys that are ultra competitive. That's the way I was. So I can recognize myself in their actions. I still am ultra competitive, but I've definitely mellowed a lot more. I don't need to win, but there was a part of my life, right up until maybe 45, where I had to win. I had to be the biggest. In fact, really this, and again, it was Gail brought this one up to me. So it was only, when was it? 6 weeks ago. We were on the bay and we were doing mushrooms, we done a mushroom ceremony. And I had this big, massive breakdown. Huge fucking emotional process. Kicked the fire over, lost the plot, ended up lying on the floor in the middle of the bay, in Dundrum Bay, covered in these fucking insects. As Gail was rocking me back and forth, I was crying like a baby. Literally had this unconscious process, can't remember anything about it really. But for half an hour I was all covered in bites, and God love Gail, she was leeches things in her hair and everything from fucking just holding me. But the next morning we were talking, and I was saying something about one of the guys had done a deadlift or something like that. I can't remember the example I used. And I just had to go up and I had to do his PR. The weight he had just done a PR with, I had to do it like 5 times. And she goes, I don't like that about you. That's really dicky. And what do you mean? I'm only having a bit of crack, fuck's sake. And they just, no, that's really dicky. And she made me sit there and she left it, that's really dicky. And I just sat there and that resonated with me, that's really dicky. I'll tie all this back in, by the way, I'm talking about the vibrational. But when she said that process I'd had the night before, it exposed something emotionally in me, like it triggered on repressed emotions and feelings and energy in me that brought these mental clarity moments to me. And I had this realization that I was so insecure about myself that I'd created this habit that whenever one of my members or one of my mates did something that was really worthwhile and worthy of applause, rather than me being able to embrace their energy and feel into that and fucking really enjoy that as I should as a coach, I would do this crazy reason thing where I would just have to outdo their PR. I don't know why I did it. It was such a dicky thing to do. And I always said it was a bit of crack. But in that moment, I realised it was like this need within myself to be the centre of attention from like childhood, like this real, and this is what came up in that process the night before about, I was never allowed to be me. I was always being told what to do, who I had to be, by my mum, by my exes, by her, by Gail. I had this feeling inside me and I was never allowed to be me. And like this sort of tied into it, that I was me, it was me showing off who I was. And I just had this moment of realisation going, holy fuck. And it goes back to what I was saying about the words we say, its frequency and carries vibration as an effect. Well, so do our thoughts. Before our words become vibrational energy, it has to be a thought. And we have to think these words. And if we can hear a voice in our head talking to ourselves when we say words, and we'll have split personalities, I know I do, where you're playing a conversation out in your head that maybe's happened, or you're creating this story, this narrative doesn't exist, but you're living it out in this real, like, like Gail and I breaking up and me having a conversation, two of us, why you do this? What you have this conversation going on in your head, and that was having an effect on me energetically, but it didn't exist anywhere except in my head. Can we have a debate? Not in the right now, I know. I'm not in the mood for a debate. Usually I am, but that's an argument. Charlie, I don't know you, but I was such an argumentative motherfucker, and I had to be right about everything. And do you know what? It's not even going to be. It wouldn't even be a debate. I just now see people's opinions as theirs, and there's no point in trying to change people's minds anymore, is there? All I do now, what I've realised is all I can do is speak about the way I see things, and you either agree or disagree. And that's entirely your perspective, your prerogative, and it's your journey. I no longer feel this need to try to push people to believe me or force my opinion down the throat of others. That's where I'm trying to move from. I'm not trying. That's where I am moving from. Because I just don't see it doing any good for anyone. And even all the woke shit that fucking does my head in now, I just see the poison. I realise that even by speaking about it, I'm creating it. I'm allowing it to continue. I'm giving it energy. And where focus goes, energy flows. So that's why I'm focusing my talking and my energy towards what I want to create and not what I'm angry about. I think that's where society's got to us. That's where social media's got us. Social media has got us so triggered and so angry on topics that we can't do anything about except get mad about, that is taking our energy, and that's distracting us from discovering our true potentials. It's like the worry of stress. If we didn't have to worry about money, if we didn't have to worry about these man-made problems that are all created through the social media and the mainstream media channels, if we didn't have to worry about them, we would have time to think, we would have time to connect, we would have time to talk to each other, we'd have time to bond, we'd have time to realise that we've got so much more in common than we do against each other. And that what we hate about ourselves is actually what we've been taught. What in the UVF twisted? What in the UVF twisted my neck right round to my back for selling smack is going on here? That was meant to be funny, wasn't it? Okay. Listen and you'll learn. Or don't. I don't mind. But it's put me off my train of thought. This happens to me all the time. I've just realised that, like, Northern Ireland is a cesspool of fucking tribal hatred. It's just full of people who hate other men and women who are nearly identical to themselves based upon a narrative that they were born into. A belief structure that isn't theirs to own. They have chose to hold it. It's an identity that they have taken hold of, and they have now decided, this is who I am. And because this is who I am, I must hate them for being who they are. Even though they've all got kids and they've all got jobs and they're all worrying about everything else the same as us all, we must hate them, and it's because someone said somewhere along the line that we must. It wasn't ours to hold, it wasn't our parents, it wasn't our grandparents, it wasn't our great-grandparents. And we can find a way to defend that, and we can argue against it. And then when someone gives you a rational explanation as to why it's possibly wrong, you will either get angry or threatening or walk away or do something to avoid looking at it. That's the ego. That's the ego keeping you safe. Because if it doesn't keep you safe, if it doesn't do this to you, then your only other option is to question your belief structure. And if you question your belief structure, that means you may come to the realisation or the conclusion that you've been wrong. And if that happens, then you've got a lot of apologising to do. You've got a lot of soul searching to do. You've got a lot of making up and a lot of letting go of stories that have held you in place, and you've got a lot of considerations to make, and that's too much for the average man or woman these days. Because we've got bills, we've got fucking stresses, we've got to worry about our kids, what's happening, World War III, COVID, vaccines, fucking jobs, the economy, immigrants. We've got all these things bombarding us. That's keeping our energy low. That's keeping us away from where we need to go. And that is the reason why society is the way it is. Broken, fractured, and in this place where there's a collective frustration it's affecting everyone on a very deep level. And I think more and more people are starting to wake up to it. More and more people are starting to actually realise that whatever we're doing isn't working. Because on one end, we have this narrative that this is the safest we've ever been. Back in 200 years ago, 400 years ago, you had to worry about marauding fucking bandits with swords and axes, and you didn't live that long, you didn't know when food was coming in, and they're absolutely right. If that's the way history was, well then yes, we are living longer, we do live in more comfort, we do have more enjoyment and freedom, life expectancy, but everything comes at a cost, and everything has that moment of balance. And somewhere along the line was the balance point. It came from Vikings pillaging and raping and fucking early deaths and no food. And then we got into this point, and somewhere in history we got a balance point where we found that perfect point between the struggle and technological advancement. You still had appreciation for the way life was. Like, there was no microwave dinners. You had to come in at a certain time and your mum cooked the dinner. That was just a sacrifice you had to make. You didn't want to come in and play football, or these small things that then technology took over and made it more comfortable. Now you didn't have to sit down at the table with your family every night. What'd that do? That separated us energetically. And then we needed more technological goods to make our life easier. So that means we had to work harder because the economy wasn't rising at the same cost of these new levels of technology. So we had to work harder, which meant we had to give up more of our time, which is the only finite thing we've got, in order to make money so that we could buy these products, so that we could have the same shared experience as everyone else. And then that shared experience becomes the collective experience. And then that sets the new barometer level of what difficulty is, because soon we forget about how we had to eat our dinner warm or else eat it cold. We could now heat it up anything we want. I know it's a small, simple example, but these small, simple examples all lay on top of one another. And sooner or later, we get to this point where we've forgotten what difficulty was, what struggle was. Do you remember? Well, I do. If I'd phone Clinton, Jerry, is Mark there? No. Where is it? Would you tell him to meet me at Greenways at 4 o'clock? Right, okay, bump. I'd be up at Greenways at 4 o'clock. Mark will be there. That was mobile phones. That was texting back then. Can you imagine that now? Like, I used this example the other day a couple of times, but I think it's a very prevalent one to show you how gone we are as a society. We think it's normal to go out and meet our friends for a coffee, and then put our cup of coffee into the light because the sunlight's coming through and it's creating a beautiful reflective photograph, and it's an opportunity to take a photograph. So we'll get our phone out and we'll get down and we'll zoom in and we'll fucking hit macro and we'll zoom out and we'll take this shot and we'll take this shot, and then we'll go through 20 photographs. Oh, that's a good one. We'll take that one, then we'll put some filters on it, and then we'll say something like, meeting mates for coffee, #connection. Meanwhile, your friend's drinking his coffee, looking out the window. Now, can you imagine back in 1990 meeting your mate in the cafe for a cup of tea and a fry, because you didn't do coffee back in the 90s, and you pulling out your Polaroid disposable and putting your cup of tea in the window because you'll get that same light and it still looks as nice, and start wasting a whole film on this photograph, then going through all them and deciding to pick one, and writing on the back of it, meet my mate for tea, #connection, and sticking it on the wall of a fucking shop. They would just go, what are you fucking doing, you absolute lunatic? We have so far removed ourselves from connection, of what actual connection is. And we believe the social media bullshit narrative that this is connection. Look, you're talking, you're listening to me talking, we are connected. Are we fuck? We have just lost complete connection with the very essence of who it is we are and what we are here to do. And we are so focused on chasing a goal, a dream, a collective energetic dream that we are told by the media, bombarded through social media messaging 24/7. This is what we do. This is what we must conform to. This is how we do it. This is what we... It's just this conveyor belt of lies, of narratives that are just programming us and brainwashing us. And we are so used to living in stress and living in this world of, I don't know, it's a matrix. And we're addicted to this emotion within us of fear. So much so that when we're alone by ourselves and we sit and breathe, we get agitated. We don't know what to do. We freak out. Our nervous systems has been so conditioned to need stress, to need distracted, that we can't be alone with ourselves and our thoughts. We have lost that. And this is why the mindset community and the fucking meditation, why it's really successful and really good, and I believe in it massively, but it's why it's become such a multi-billion-pound business. Because we are so disconnected with ourselves. And each and every one of us has the ability to do something about it. And we don't need experts to tell us what to do. If we just fucking go up the mountain and leave your phone there and decide to sit there for an hour and a half on your own, just go up a mountain that you know no one's going to be there. And don't bring your phone. Don't bring any technology. And just plant yourself there. And just look out at the view. Breathe. Take your socks and shoes off and put your feet on the ground. Put your hands on the ground. Lie there. And just breathe deeply. Because that's the other thing. We don't breathe properly. Do you not see how fucked up we have become? How so disconnected we are from what it is we're meant to be. And it's just become so normal that people like me talking like this sound like lunatics. I sound like a lunatic because I'm speaking about breathing properly. How insane is that? That we're so disconnected with who it is and what it is we are, that when someone talks about connective things that are going to bring us closer to rediscovering the inner self, we are so terrified of that we make fun of people like me. We find ways of putting funny memes up and all because it's uncomfortable. It's my words and what I say, it shakes people up a wee bit. It's like, God damn it, there's a part of me in there that I know and I don't want to look at, because it opens Pandora's box. And I get it, fucking Pandora's box can't be closed, and it leads you down a road. Thank you. It leads you down a road of hell, to be honest with you. But hell's a state of mind. Hell is just simply a state of mind, and we can choose to live in hell and live in heaven. We transcend between both, I think. I know. But it's through the darkness that we get into the light. You know, it's like there's a tunnel. This is the whole thing. The only way to get to where you want to be is through. And we spend so much time trying to figure out a way around it. And we waste so much energy. And we end up so frustrated because we never get to where we want to be. So instead, we pretend that we're there. We've got this ability on social media that we can project a story to others to let them know, hey, look at how quality my life is. My life is fucking sweet. Look at my new car. Look at my new phone. Look at me and my missus. We are so in love, even though we hate each other and we fight each other all the time, and I'm probably cheating on her and she's probably cheating on me. It's just, it's bullshit. But that's how low we are as a society and as individuals. And we're each having our own unique experience. And because we don't connect on a proper, everything's superficial these days. The conversations we have are very superficial. They're about celebrities, they're about social media headlines. There's no one really talking about how are you, like, as a man, how are you? Now, we'll put posts up on social media because that's being trending, yeah, fucking, blah, blah, blah. I can't even think of the quotes to say, they're just shite. We just know they're talking, the word vomit that makes you feel good for that moment, that makes you think that everyone else thinks you're a fucking legend because you're sharing the same quote that everyone else is sharing, and it makes you sound, yeah, it's like, clap for the NHS type of thing. It just becomes that same energy where it's just click, click and play, But when it gets to the actual deep, in-depth conversations, it's too much. Most are uncomfortable with them. And most end up getting triggered by them. Because when people start to truly open up about who they are and how they feel, it can be a very uncomfortable experience. And you can end up finding yourself projecting, in a way trying to help, but end up projecting onto them your own shit because they're triggering stuff inside of you. And that's because none of us are actually, well, in society today, everyone's doing the work. Do you know, that's the new spiritual law, we're doing the work. But it's a soundbite. Because doing the work isn't about letting people know. Doing the work is going inside yourself and recognizing those things that have happened along your journey, the people you have met, and how they've triggered you. And your response to that trigger, was it one of projection, like a counter argument and like conflict, or was it acceptance? I was always conflicting, guys in the gym, here's a diet, why can't you follow that diet? Fucking just follow that, for fuck's sake, why are you going to be fat all your life? But I couldn't follow that diet. And their inability to follow the diet triggered my inability to follow the diet. So instead of me looking inside myself and going, holy shit, this is me, and they're just a reflection of my thoughts and actions, I decided to project onto them, you're fucking shite, why the fuck? Get the fuck out of the gym. Go on, I'd come burst training you. That's what I did. I was so triggered and so emotional because I couldn't let anyone near me. I couldn't allow myself to be exposed and be vulnerable. And I see it in so many fucking men today. And I can feel it within them. And I know where they're at. And you just look at them, and I look at them so empathetically, and my heart bleeds for them because I'm just going, God, dude, I know how much pain you're in. I know how much suffering you're going through, and I know how much energy that is taken off you right now. I see this character you're projecting towards me, and I know that's not the man you are, but that's the man you've become, you identify with. And we know it's that because all I have to do is I say a quote or say something, and bang, you're down my throat. You're attacking me, you're defensive, you're wanting to get away from this conversation. That tells me everything I need to know. Because that was me. It might be a different experience, but it's the exact same energy, the exact same frequency, the exact same energetic response, defense. And then that's where I know I need to be. I need to go there with that guy. And I need to poke and prod. And a lot of the guys can't handle it. A lot of the guys don't want it. And a lot of the guys will leave. And you know what? That's exactly where they need to be, and that's fine. I'm not the coach for them at this moment in time. And that's where I'm getting the point now. It's, for me, the superficial, do 3 sets of 10 for the deadlift, well done for lifting that weight, high five, is over. I no longer want that in my life. I'm looking men who are really serious about change. And since I've been speaking like this, I've been finding them. They're coming more and more and more to the gym. And there's guys that are just starting to step in the gym, and it's The weight is just the connection to do the work. It's like, you know, the conversations that are happening in this gym at the moment with so many men, it's phenomenal. And I'm seeing it happening more and more and more. And it's uncomfortable and it's terrifying. There's definitely a shift in the energy of the universe. You can see it. More and more people are just getting sick, sore and tired of the bullshit. And we're all at different stages of the waking up process. I suppose I'm further down the road than most. But there's... The thing about the process is that the waking up process and recognising that you are more. I think this is what people are starting to realise. They are here for more than what they're currently doing. Men are starting to realise that they have more to offer than a fucking 9 to 5 where they're not appreciated. Men are starting to recognise that their children and their wives and their friends and family are who they are, as opposed to I'm a computer technician, I'm a fucking plumber. We're starting to recognise that, maybe not everyone, but we're starting to recognise that there's more to this world than just slaving away to buy material goods, and that it doesn't seem to matter how much money you make, there's never enough to go around, and all we're doing is spending more and more time, which is the only finite source we've got, trying to make more and more of this money, just to buy more and more things that only give us fleeting moments of dopamine rushes. It's not happiness. We have shifted our belief to what happiness is. We now believe that happiness is found in the material. The 3D bullshit, the lower energetic, the dense frequency, and it's not. And that Einstein quote comes to mind, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's the same thing. More and more of us are just realising that we're doing the same thing over and over again, and we're never getting anywhere, and I'm never any happier, and life doesn't change, I just get older. But I have the same arguments, the same feelings, I eat the same food, I go on the same holiday. It's like we're on repeat. Like, how many of us questioned, why do you work? Let's say you're just a 9 to 5er, government employee type thing. Why do you work 48 weeks of the year? 9 to 5 plus weekends to get overtime? Just so you can have that 2 weeks in Benidorm or somewhere else in Spain or Portugal, that you're going to sit beside the pool and drink the local beer and eat the shitty food and take the photographs of your feet beside the pool saying, wish you were here, and doing the same repetitive bullshit that every other man and woman does every single day, just to let people know what you're doing, that you're not working. You know that famous parable with the fisherman's and the wee rickety boat, and this big guy comes over and he's like, why don't you get yourself, do more fish and buy more boats and blah, 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 and he ends up just where he is. It's like we are chasing a dream that we've been told we must have, and we're giving up on our own. And then we're blaming other people for us not being happy. But the true reason behind it is none of us are truly stepping in to the role we're here to do. We are so scared of loss. We're so terrified in case we lose what we've been told we must keep, that we're actually never discovering what it is will make us truly happy. I don't know about you, but every time I have been like down in the depths, like the suicidal moments, it's never been, I've never had a want, sorry, let me plug this in. I've never had a want for more money at that time. I've cried for mummy, I cried for Gail, I cried for my kids, I cried for someone to come and give me a hug. That's what made me feel better. When the shit hits the fan and there's darkness, and you know when you're at your bottom, you're at the very bottom of your abilities, like it's energetic connection you have with your fellow man. It's just that being held, and that as men, that goes back to childhood. That's the inner child. That's the lack of love you felt you received, you didn't get when you were a child, a baby. That hold is the first hold you ever experienced from the mother. That's what we're always craving. We're always craving that. There's an inner child in each and every one of us who is screaming out for attention, who is not being acknowledged. And this makes men so uncomfortable because this is such a vulnerable area of conversation. And this is, in my opinion, from my experiences, both personal and talking with others, this is where everyone needs to be. This is where you should be looking. If you want to be happy, if you want to be the man you think you deserve to be, you're not going to find it in the gym. You will find aspects of yourself in the gym. You will find ways of building an internal strength and a physical strength and emotional strength, I suppose, through the challenge of the gym. But if you want to be truly connected with yourself, you want to be happy, you want to be in balance, and that is what we're seeking, balance, then you need to start going to those places you've repressed. And that usually means the child, the inner child. And it's only since I started doing the inner child work have I realised just how much pain I was holding. How do you stop it? What do you mean? I don't understand. How do you stop what? In March, I went to a journeying retreat to learn how to do journeying properly and hold journeying circles. I'll be honest, background, right? So, my ex-wife Gail is very spiritual. Feeling like that, working on it, dude. You've got to work on it. So Gail's very spiritual, and she's brought me along this path, right? I'm angry at her for it, and I'm also loving her for it. The group she will hang about with are very connected to the spiritual side. I'm not. I'm very logical. I'm very in my brain. I'm very scientific in my methods. I need to know things rather than feel things. You understand? It's for me. It's like I have to once I'm able to dissect it in my head, in my mind, I can then express it through the heart. But I'm very I don't know. It's a weird way I work. I've only discovered this myself. I think of something and I have to realize I have to feel it. And that's saying the head to the heart's the hardest, is the longest journey it is. It's hard. But I don't just take it to heart, then I bring it, once I feel it into the heart, I bring it into the head again. And I go between these two. And this is how I work things out. But Gail's group are just, they are fucking in the air. They are speaking to their spirit guides and they're seeing spirits and they're just, I don't know what's going on with them. I'm just looking and going, what the fuck? And I would be with them and I would just, it was a defense mechanism. I just called them crazy. These are all crazy. These are fucking nuts. Like I remember seeing the when we went to get married in Colombia, one of the nights, I think it was the second night we were there, we made our own medicine. And to make no medicines, we had to do this whole process. It's like a whole 24 hours of brewing the ayahuasca, and you would beat the leaves, and you would beat the vines, and you would put it into the water, and you'd strain it, and you'd be cooking it, and there would have to be someone. There'd be a group of people looking after the ayahuasca the entire night, and they were doing this ritual so as we were stirring it, we had it all. They were all sitting there around, and Paul Newman, a good friend of mine, he was actually my best man at the wedding. He led this ritualistic prayer towards him, and they were all balls deep in it, and I was a wee bit uncomfortable. I still wasn't fully into this system yet. I had my, this is a bit nuts, sort of feeling about it, and they were all closing their eyes and they were doing this, and then we opened their eyes and everyone was like, and when Paul said this prayer, and I didn't really catch on what he was doing, but when I opened my eyes, everyone was like this. And they were just holding their mouth like that. And I was going, and I said to Gail, what are you doing? And he goes, And I was like going to myself, why the fuck have I not got any of this? Where do they drink this? Why have I not got liquid? Why am I not holding it? And I was going, why am I not holding this like my mouth? And then one by one they walked up to the pot and they go, and I was like, what the fuck? nothing's coming out. One by one. And then Gail walked up and they looked at me and I just went, I go hard. What was that about? Like, that was our intentions. I said, what? Like, that was we were putting our intention into the ayahuasca. So we were all our intentions are in the ayahuasca. And I was like, these are fucking crazy. These are literally insane. I could not get to this. This was just too much woo over my head. This was whoa fucking level 10. I'm only on level 5 right now. These are bringing me balls deep and I can't handle it. But I recognise now, believe it or not, so I might as well go into this one. So the next night, so then we brewed ayahuasca, right? So they brewed it and then you have to strain it down, you have to burn it all down. So it's a big massive pot. And then when you brew it, it goes down to this like very small, like maybe this much in it. Still a fair amount of ayahuasca in it. But it's thick, it's like licorice, it's not a nice tasting substance. But before it's brewed down, you skim it and then you drink it. You drink a big glass of it, and then you do some rapé and then you go and purge. Now, I struggle to purge. Everyone else purged really well. I purged through my arse. I have diarrhea like fuck. Can never really vomit. When Colombia, I puke like crazy. So I done my glass, glug. They done rapé up my nose. I went out and I'm standing there going, and everyone's just fucking, there's a video, I must put it up. I'll put it on my page at some point. You'll just see them all land. There's actually one of the girls is being held up in a vein of tree. She's purging so much she can't even stand. They're vomiting everywhere. That's like, nothing's happening here, Joe. So take another glass. Glug. More rapé, bump. Still nothing. 4 fucking glasses. And then I give up and I started fucking make myself sick. So I can make myself vomit at any point. I can just go and just be sick. So I made myself purge. Fuck. 4 glasses of ayahuasca. Like 4 glasses. Not like a shot, but glasses like twice the size of this. Fucking drank 4 of them. I was tripping fucking balls that night. So the next night we go and do the medicine. And this is a crazy experience. Now, I've told this story before, so somebody's probably heard it. I'm not Christian. I'm very spiritual. I believe in a source, in God. I believe in, like, Jesus was an ascended master. I believe in the Emerald Tablets and the Anunnaki. Probably I'd be more in the version of Anunnaki. But I believe they're the small gods, and I believe there's a creator above us. What do you believe is yours, okay? I don't mind. I don't judge anyone anymore. It's your belief. It's your journey. But I have to say I'm not Christian, okay? Now, I was raised Catholic. I was born in the West Belfast, but it never sat with me well. Never the Christianity story. There's always too many gaps in the story for me to believe it. But I suppose it's impregnated in my mind because being a child from growing in the Catholic faith and growing up in West Belfast, etc. So we went to the Malacca. Now the Malacca is a place that you will do the ceremony, and it's a retreat. Now we're in the middle of the jungle. It's beautiful, right? It's Colombia. It's beautiful. And the shaman prepares the medicine that we had. No, it was Joe. Sorry, it was Joe taking it because there was no shaman that time. It was our medicine. Joe gave us the medicine. We drank it, and I done 2 cups that night. And Paul Newman, the guy was my best man. Him and I, now Paul, the spiritualist, Paul does see ghosts, spirits, talks to them, communities with them. He's told me crazy things that I'm just like, whoa. But him and I are sitting at the entrance of the Malacca. The Malacca's open, but for some reason everyone walked up these steps, right? And we were sitting there with our ponchos on, our hood up. And Gail actually said this, you 2 look like gatekeepers. And funny, that's how I felt. It was a weird feeling. It was an energy of like, protective energy. It was very strange. But that night, everyone was fucking going insane. It was the darkest of darkest energies in that medicine. There was people screaming about sexual abuse and physical abuse and mental torture and traumas, vomiting and purging and screaming, high-pitched fucking screams and fucking of pain. The energy in there was it was just insane. Honestly, you had to be there. One of them was the darkest I've ever felt anything. It was intimidating. But for some reason, I felt completely protected. There was this thing within me. I don't know what it was. I still don't know. But I was like, I am so safe from this. There is nothing is going to harm me. And it was annoying. It wasn't a thought, it was annoying. It was a feeling that I knew I was not going to be in that energy. And then this voice in my head just said, stand up. And like when I say stand up, by the time it said stand, I was already up. It was like almost like a command that I had no control over. But I felt myself make the movement, but it was like, stand up. And I was like, up, stood up. And they said, walk to the fire. And as I said, walk, I was already walking to the fire. This sounds nuts. I laugh when I tell this story because it's mad. I don't know how to explain it, right? Well, I'm going to explain it, but I don't know. I can't. So I looked down at my feet, and I wear sandals. I wear flip-flops. I'm known as a flip-flop guy. Always wear flip-flops. Not anymore, actually. I'm wearing these wide toe shoes, but I love my flip-flops, even in winter. Middle of snow, I'll walk in flip-flops. And I looked down at my flip-flops, and there were nice sandals like the Roman soldiers used to wear, no straps that would go up your ankle. And then I had those creases or crevices or whatever you call them, you know, like the Roman soldiers would wear to protect their shins in battle. Had them on me. And then it was like a Roman skirt, like a Roman soldier skirt. That sort of shirt, them sort of red pleated things that the soldiers wore. And I looked down and I have a silver breastplate. And as I'm looking down, I'm getting taller. I can feel myself growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm looking down going, what the fuck? And there's a big, massive silver medieval shield by my side, my left-hand side, and my hand's resting on it. And then my hand's resting on this double-handed, jewel encrusted broadsword with a big, fucking gorgeous long handle there, long sword, shining silver, I don't know, like really bright, mirror-like. And I've got the same sort of like breastplate with gold inlay around it. And I feel myself go, oh, like this shiver. And as I do that, these fucking massive wings just come out of my back and shoot around the entire Malacca and surround everything. And I can see these entities outside of the Malacca trying to get in, and my wings are protecting everything. And everyone's screaming. Gail's in the corner crying, moaning. Gail's, because she's my wife, I could really focus in on her pain. And it was like protection. And this voice boomed in my head. In the name of Jesus Christ, silence. And I mean, in the name of Jesus Christ, silence. Like, boomed in my head. Not a word came out of my mouth. Just this voice boomed in my head. And everyone just shut the fuck up. Everyone just stopped. People got up and started walking towards their beds and lay down. And I remember just thinking to myself, going, what the fuck just happened here? What the fuck has just happened? Freaked me out. Absolutely freaked the fuck out of me. And I was like, whoa. And I walked down and sat down, and I was like, and I told Paul. And Paul goes, well, fuck, you must have an archangel as a spirit guide. I was like, what? And he goes, you know, you have Raphael or Metatron or something. He said another one. Then he said Michael, and I was like, that resonated. I was like, Michael? And he goes, oh, it must be Michael the archangel. Listen, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I felt, just telling you what I experienced, what I seen, what happened. But then later on, I was back in my seat, and Gail was in the corner, and Gail was going through this process. I'm not going to give her she was going through a heavy process anyway, right? Very painful, very dark. And I said this, dude, I was like sitting there and I'm going, go and protect her. And I just seen this angel go over and just stand over Gail and put his wings around her. And Gail stopped again. And I started bawling my eyes out. I just started bawling my eyes out for some reason. And then, I don't know what happened. But for 35 minutes, I went into the unconscious process. And I just started screaming. I won't say what I was screaming because I love them too much and I would never offend them or anyone bad. But I was screaming someone's name, saying, fuck you, someone's name. And I don't know why. But I couldn't talk the next day. I just lost my voice, completely lost my voice the next day. And I remember, you know, something, it was because Gail and I have only separated 4 weeks, it's still a bit raw. But I remember Gail taking me out of the process. And it happened by her, whatever I was doing, whatever I was going, I was screaming, whatever. but she laid down beside me and hugged me. And I remember this thought, this feeling of this just, whatever darkness I was going through, I just felt this love. It was just beautiful. I genuinely, I'll hold that emotion, I'll hold that feeling to the day I die. Everyone, I would love everyone to experience, that energy, that feeling, that it must be the closest thing to being held by your mother the first time or something. It was such a powerful feminine energy where I just felt completely vulnerable. It was like I'm taken out of the process and I felt exposed, but absolutely safe and held. And this love, this overriding love, I crave it so much. It was just beautiful. But and that, in that moment, I realized that's where we all, see that feeling, that it was like it tapped into an emotion or tapped into an experience or an energy that I didn't recognize anymore. And it brought it back to the surface. It was of complete safety or something. Do you know, anyone got kids, when your child is a baby in the fall and you pick them up and they nuzzle into your neck and you know you're their everything and you just hold them and you just squeeze them and you let them cry and you know they know they're safe. It was that. I was there at that moment and I was just held. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, and everyone needs it. Everyone, it's what's missing in this world. This just that if we all could feel that, if we all could experience that, and feel what it feels to be like that, I think this world would heal itself in a second. Because we are all love. Everything, like it's the most overriding emotion there is. And I think it's what we're always seeking. As adults, we're always seeking this unconscious feeling. Now, probably from mother, but I'd say girls would have more of a protective energy love from a man. You know, they're unconsciously, a woman's probably looking that same protection that feeling they got when their daddy held them as babies. You know, men are looking for that connection from the mother in their wives. This is what we're lacking, and we're fed sound bites of saying this on TikTok, on Instagram. You know, things that sound like intellectually and like you're intelligent. You know, oh yes, God, that guy knows what they're talking about, but it's spiritual fucking diarrhea. Oh God, don't know what's going on there. It's all sound bites, words with no real depth to them. And that's where we're at. That's where I see we're at as a society. We're at this place where we're all able to project these conversations of we've got our shit together, that we know what we're talking about, that we're part of the trending fucking social media platform bullshit. But when it comes to actual deep, in-depth conversation where it's like, I see you as a man, I see the individual in front of me in all his versions, his pains, his agonies, his traumas, his love. I see everything. There's very little of that. And I'm very good at those conversations. That's what I end up, a lot of the men I talk to, we end up in those type of conversations. And Gail and I's conversations were always like that. It was always depth. And what I've noticed is that is where we discover the self, and that is where we get true connection. And it's that fear to go to that point that is the problem with us all today. If we all could have the courage to just, I heard a quote in a podcast, it was a beautiful podcast, and he said, what was it, fuck, it was amazing, I forgot it, I don't want to butcher it, it was beautiful. Where do you live? Talaba MFC, give us your name. I can never pronounce things like that. Where do you live, mate? Because I do a circle for men every Monday night at 8 o'clock. But what did he say? He said the service of service is service, and the peace of peace is peace. He was basically saying, like, when you're doing the premise is basically, well, come over to, we're in Lisburn, Monday nights 8 o'clock. If you really don't know where to start and you want to start somewhere, you'll find a way of getting over here. It's not that far, like it's only 20 minutes. We do things, we tend to put things on do things for social media approval. There is so little of us being in service for people for the sake of being in service. There's very little of us seeking peace just to have peace. Do you know, we want to be seen as the peacemaker. We want to be recognised as the man in service. But it's not about that. It's about doing something with the purest and most loving intention. And that is something every one of us has the ability to do. If we could all see ourselves as we see our own children, because the truth is, every adult here, you were a child. You experienced the programs that still control you today as a child, and you need to experience them from the perspective of that child, not from the adult. And one of the biggest problems I see today is that we compare our shit to other people's. And it's a very simple thing to say to everyone, like, okay, so you're sitting there and let's take my example. My wife and I have separated 4 weeks. My heart's broken. I'm devastated. I'm not really coping that well with it. But apart from that, I've got 2 great children, both parents. I've got a wee pup who loves me. I've got a thriving gym with members who love me. I've discovered so many friends since this 4 week break, since the 4 weeks have broke up. I didn't have that, but I was never sexually assaulted, or I was never needed anything since, I had a good life. But if I come into a group circle, if I come into a main sharing circle and I say, and I'm coming in with intention, like I'm in pain, I need to be heard. And before I speak, some guy says, yeah, when I was 9, I was raped, and I went through my entire life being raped. And all of a sudden I'm going to go, I'm not going to speak about that. Fuck, I'm not going to say my problems are nothing compared to his. So we tend to compare our issues against others, and then we put them on a scale. And that scale, depending on the severity of someone else's, and it could be the other way, guys going, I didn't get to go out last night with my mates, and you're like, well, fuck you, I've separated my wife, what the fuck, jeez, that's not really... We compare our own traumas and our own experiences to the others, and then we put them on the scale and we decide whether they're serious or not, or who's the most serious. But that is wrong, because it's denying us what is true about the situation. And the situation is, you're in pain because of something that you've experienced. And just because someone else's experience may be more severe, it doesn't negate the fact that you have an experience that's affected you and is affecting you. And because it's affecting you, it's impacting other people in your life. So we need to get away from this belief that just because someone has had a more traumatic experience, that your experience doesn't matter. We're all in our individual journeys. We're all creating these experiences for lessons, some more than others. But it's important that everyone feels heard and everyone feels not validated. I don't like the word validated, because just seen. Seen. Because ultimately, no one can make me feel better about what I'm going through. This is something I must work through. I cannot change the past. I can't dictate that the woman I love has made a decision, doesn't want to be with me anymore. I have to deal with that. And through dealing with it the last 4 weeks, I've discovered so much about myself. I have recognised traits in myself that I went, holy fuck. And I have seen the part that I played in the breakup. It takes two to tango. Her shit's her shit, my shit's my shit. But this journey has made me recognise, this 4 weeks has allowed me space to recognise how far I stepped away from who I was. And the reason the breakup probably happened is because my higher self has said, you're no longer on your path. You're more focused on giving Gail her path. And that was driving Gail away from me. My desire to love Gail and give Gail what she never had created a barrier because it became the balance thing. I went, I've got what I need. I want to give her what she wants. And then it sort of went the other way. And it started exposing both our traumas. And her words would trigger me. My words would trigger her. And the two of us would have this clashing of energies. Where once today, funny enough, I'm moving through it. I'm able to actually talk about it now without crying, which is progress. But I said to Michael, I was like, Michael, did you think Gail and I love each other? And he goes, fuck yeah. His twos were energetically connected. You could see it. Somewhere along the line, something happened. And it was the unhealed shit that we both didn't look at in ourselves, that we projected onto each other, that caused the divide. Now, maybe we'll get back together one day. I don't know. Hopefully, the way I feel, maybe one day it will. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I've learned so much from it that I now know that it has fundamentally changed me. And I can look back on our 4.5-year relationship, our 8-year friendship, actually 8 years this Monday, and I know that it was meant to be. Whatever's happened, whatever's meant to be was meant to be, but that was meant to happen for us both because we were a support structure for each other. Then we were each other's repellent, where we were exposing to each other where our flaws are. I've been able to recognise it. Whether Gail does or not, that's Gail's journey now. But I was able to see my traits and my programs and where I went wrong. And it's through analysing this that I'm able to then implement things to start healing. And this is where, when I said earlier on, everyone says you got to feel it to heal it, whereas I'm a believer you've got to feel it, deal with it, then you heal it. And you won't be able to, you're never going to be able to heal it just by feeling it. And this is, I think, the spiritual community just do it wrong because it's very feminized. And I don't mean to make it sound sexy here, but women are very emotional. They're not as logical as men. And women's feelings are dictated by their emotions and their emotional states. About who? About Liam Payne? Is that the guy that jumped out the window? I have no idea. Don't know who's Liam Payne is. Never heard of him. I don't do news. I don't do celebrities. Don't do any of that shit. But I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know who Liam Payne is. I know what One Direction or something. No idea. I think he's an energy harvest. Same full moon as Matthew Perry. He smashes his computer up and all just beforehand. He was about to expose people. Apparently, yeah. There's never those things never just happen like that. But energetically, when things are happening in your life, women are more emotional and tend to experience things in the moment there and then. So you 1 minute you'd be fine, and then emotional something triggers and boom, it's like chaos, and then it's back to normal, and then it's chaos because that's when we're chaotic. Women, Mother Earth is chaos. Father, son is structure. The male species, the male energy, the male gender, it is about structure. It's about providing. It's about protection. Whereas the female energy is more about chaotic creation of life. Life is chaotic. Creation of life's chaotic. You know, it's emotional, like even the entanglement of man and woman, having sex, the passion, throes of passion. It's a very chaotic, emotional, it's not a logical experience. The sun's always constant, it's always structure. Its light shines down to Mother Earth, penetrates her and fertilizes her seeds. There's energy there, you understand the energies. But the spiritual community like to say you should feel it to heal it. And that the premise of that is we've got trapped emotion inside ourselves, and we've got to feel that emotion from the perspective we experience that emotion. So if you were sexually abused as an 8-year-old, you must go back to that 8-year-old self and experience and express that pain that you suppressed to survive. You must express it from the perspective of that 8-year-old, even though if you're a 46-year-old woman or 48-year-old man or whatever it is, you must go back to that point, which is true. But it seems to me that there's the missing link, and that's the logical perspective, because we are also mind. Everything is mind. The universe is mental. Everything is mind. This is one of the hermetic principles. So we must bring it to the mind. We must bring that emotional experience that we had as the 8-year-old child, and then we must process it as the self we are now, and recognize it wasn't your fault, and allow yourself to forgive yourself. But that takes the adult within us all to give the inner child the love it needs, and we must process it up here and in here. And I think there's a lot of people just think it's about feeling, and then you get this, the spiritual community gets about, I'm feeling, I'm feeling, I'm feeling, I'm feeling, and it's this cycle of like, I'm feeling, so I'm healing. And it's almost like a justification to be a psycho. It's almost justification to project on the others, because how you feel right now is valid, and therefore your actions are valid, and therefore everyone must accept that. And that's where I think the spiritual community's gone wrong. And I think that's where so many people are getting it wrong, because you must feel it, but then you must, as a man or woman, deal with it internally. You can express it, absolutely, but you can't project it. And you can't then bring it home with you and then use it as justification, as a weapon to cast on the others, so you don't have to look at yourself. This is where the hardest part comes. The hardest part is integrating the experience, because that experience, whatever it is, whether it was rape, whether it was like abandonment, whether it was judgment, it doesn't matter how big or small it was, whatever it was, it's caused you to act a certain way. And that way of acting has become part of your identity. And that means you will project that experience on the others and justify it within yourself. And then when it's exposed and you deal with it, you must start bringing that inside yourself and start recognizing, fuck, I have cast a lot of shit on a lot of people. And then you've got to find it in yourself to literally apologize, beg for forgiveness. And this is what I do. Every time I go through a process and I recognize something, I go out to the people that I've offended, I've projected on, apologize to them, because that's what being a man is, as far as I'm concerned. Owning your shit, being willing to be humble, and recognize that it might not have been your fault, but it's 100% your responsibility. It's absolutely your responsibility. And when you do that, and you're able to humble yourself, and this is absolutely personal experience, I'm telling you right now, the minute you're able to walk up to the man or woman that you've offended because of programs that cause you to be defensive, and you can look them in the eye and you can ask them for forgiveness, it doesn't matter what their response is. The minute you can humble yourself and be truly intentional with this and go, listen, I've just experienced something and I've realized that I've been a dick to you. So I just want to apologize and I hope you can forgive me. And I want you to know that even though I did cause you pain and I'm so sorry for that, I hope you can forgive me. It wasn't done from a perspective of trying to hurt you. It was done from a perspective of defending myself, keeping myself safe. And it's not a justification. Hence the reason why I'm apologising to you. But I just want you to know that I've seen it, I've realised it, and that I owe you an apology. When you can do that, and the first time it's hard, second time it's hard as well, but then it starts getting easier and easier. It soon transitions into a strength, into a level of power that brings you closer to self, because you're not here to accumulate, you're here to remove, so that you can discover who you are. And who you are is not going to be found by clothing yourself in more and more things that society tells us we need, more identities, more material goods, more focus on everything else apart from self. The only way you get to this point where you're actually more content with yourself and you're more in love with yourself and you find yourself happier with yourself is by going into these experiences and removing these aspects of yourself that you've, these labels and programs and identities you've attached to, that's holding you in place. It's a difficult journey. And maybe 40, 50 years ago, when we had more struggle, we could have all done it easier, but energetically we weren't there. Right now, the difficulty for us all is that we are so egotistical because of social media. And we have lived such a lie for so long that some of us actually believe our social media perception or persona is who we are. And it's no, we all know that's bullshit. We all know we only give the PG version of ourselves, the version that we want everyone to see, the version that we're happy our kids to see. We only give that version to the society, to social media. We only ever post up pictures of us being in love with our partners. We never talk about the fact that we're usually beating the shit out of each other, fighting, or we never boast about the fact that you're texting some girl behind your wife's back, or you're having an affair with your husband's best mate. That's not there, but that's you. Still part of you. Just not part of you want to acknowledge. And you'll justify your actions of doing these things by projecting it's their fault. But they're not the ones making you do it. It's you making yourself do it. You hadn't got the balls. I was a notorious cheater. Notorious cheater. I never had a girlfriend that I didn't cheat on. I was awful that way. And then the mother of my kids, the ex, really, really don't like her. The two of us do not get on at all. But I never cheated on her. And the reason I never cheated on her was because she was the mother of my kids. And I had it in my head that if I was ever to cheat on her, that would set and I got caught, or maybe energetically just projected there. But if I did that, my daughters would then think that on a really unconscious, deep level, like subconscious level, they would think that's what love is. That's what a man must do. That's what a man does to the husband, or the husband does to the wife to show love. So they would look for a wife. They would look for a husband that would cheat on them. So I never cheated on her. And I never cheated on Gail. Jesus Christ, I could never cheat on Gail. I just couldn't. I don't think I'll ever. I'm celibate for the next year at least, as I learn to fucking connect with myself again, because I'm not ready. I could never go with another woman again for a long time. But that understand. See what I recognised the cheating and where it spawned from, and it was a sense. It was born from a sense of lack of self-worth. And so my cheating, I did it to make myself feel worthy, because I needed to feel loved. And this was the traumatized way of doing that. Oh, a girl finds me attractive, I'm good, happy days. So if a girl annoyed me, if I was with a girl and she did something just to trigger me, I'd be like, go fuck yourself, fuck you, don't like me, right? That's me projecting my mummy wound onto the girl I was with. Now I'm going to find another girl and I'm going to buck her. And it's usually a girl who had a wee thing for me. I like a wee booty call I could have got before I met this girl, and I've done, what's a crack with you, blah blah blah, had sex with her, got my way, and then went off. What did I do to that girl though? That girl, I caused her pain, I caused her suffering, because she was hoping for something more. Maybe she allowed her body to be used by me for my sexual gratification, and then I just fucked off on that. And how many men do that to women? How many women do that to men? Do you know where's that coming from? What is the collective energy of society? What's that doing to us? How's that impacting us all? Do you understand how I just block users thing? I just can't be harsh with people again. Mute them. There you go. You can still listen all you want, but you're not talking. And that comes from personal responsibility. There's not a man or woman, listen to me now, there's not a man or woman alive over the age of 10 that hasn't done something that they're aware they shouldn't have done, that they've lied or they've done something that's impacted someone else in a negative way that didn't have to happen had they approached it differently. Well, that's you. And we all do that. But yet we're all very quick to project on the others what they did. Look at the Karens. 2020 exposed the Karens for what they are. And most of the Karens are all like good, holy Christians. In Northern Ireland, you've got the DUP. They're the fucking Karen pub, that their projection of like such holier than thou Christians, but behind their back, their fucking leader's raping his daughter and fucking they're all having affairs and they're all gay and it's all the Pharisee type energy, I project what I am, but behind closed doors I'm this actually. But that's having an energetic effect on society, and that is us all internal. Every one of us is as bad because energetically we are all living a lie. We are all doing things to keep ourselves safe. We are all not willing to go to the places we need to be to start shifting that energy. We are energetic beings. Every one of us is just vibrating at a certain frequency. Every one of our cells. That is why I'm bringing the sound baths into Primal and starting to do the sound baths, because it affects us on a cellular level. It's an energy that's going to start healing. It's going to bring up emotions. It's going to fucking start connecting with yourself. It's going to remove your ability to be distracted by your phone. You're going to be pushed into a place where you have to lie there, close your eyes, breathe, and fucking listen to the vibration frequencies as they go over you. And whatever comes up, comes up. That's what I'm creating right now. I am creating a space where it's going to be allowed, where men and women can come and just, whatever comes up, and they'll be spoke about this. There's going to be a massive change to the way Primal works, because I am sick of the fitness industry just causing as many problems as they're trying to fix through lack of education within themselves and lack of understanding, because everyone's just focusing on the physical. And you've got PTs trying to focus on the mental side, but they're 25 years old and they've done a fucking weekend course with some Instagram guru. They're now certified, and because they're 25, they're arrogant enough to believe they are certified, and that a bit of paper gives you the experience and wisdom of life. It doesn't. There was actually a meme the other day I seen there, questions like, take a blue pill and you're sick, you're fast forward to 60 years old, 45 million in the bank, but you live like the sheep. Take the red pill, go back to 10 years old, but you have all the knowledge you have right now to bring with you. I would take the red pill, obviously, but then I thought to myself, fuck, I could never have my kids then. I would never have my kids. So I freaked out about that. It's a mad thought to have, but it's that sort of, the knowledge, the wisdom that you have from life experience. That's where it's at. We've been conditioned, drip fed into a society that listens to experts, no matter who the experts are. Who the experts are is irrelevant, because as long as they've got the name saying expert, then we will say they know what they're talking about. We're willing to listen to what they're saying. PTs, 6-week course, 19 years old kid, just out of school, does a 6-week course, likes to lift a bit of weights, got he's got a set of abs because he's 19. You've got a 45-year-old man paying him £45 an hour because he's an expert, because he got a bit of paper that says he was able to study the syllabus and show that he's competent. Lads, come on. Like, is he really an expert? Were you an expert at 19? I fucking wasn't. No, I thought I was an expert at 19. But I was no fucking expert at 19. I was an expert bullshitter. I was an expert liar. But that's where we're at as a society. But you know what? You're 18. As long as you don't think you're an expert, as long as you can see if you can humble yourself at 18. I would love, genuinely, I say all the time, I would love my 18-year-old self to have me come and speak to him and lead him and guide him. Because after I beat the shit out of him, I wouldn't beat the shit out of him. After I'm able to, I would know how to deal with him. You know what I mean? I would know what he's thinking because it was me. I know where he's at. I know the fears, and I would be able to talk to him in a way that would have given him strength and convinced him of his beliefs. That's what's missing in society. Young men have no proper, strong male role model mentors. That's what's wrong. Because men my age are too scared, too afraid of their own minds. We're just too terrified to go where we need to be. But we're the wisdom keepers. We're called, I would call the gatekeepers now. You know, men in their late 40s, 50s and on. We're the keepers of knowledge. We've got the wisdom, and that's where elders, that's why elders are held in such high regard in the tribalist communities. Everyone, do you understand? Like, we're so focused on selfish. Let me see. What did you say? I used to, but I've just drifted away from myself. Well, you're on this live for a reason, buddy. You know, it's up to you now. But not there to get me. So I've been the main man. I get you, buddy. Yeah, but you know, you need to focus on you. Come over on a Monday night and see how you get on. It's nerve-wracking, but you know what? It's liberating as well, and you'll discover things. But in tribal communities, there is a purpose for every single member of the community. The young, the babies, they bring joy. They give purpose to the rest of the group because they are helpless. They bring out the human, the man or woman within each and every one of us. They show us what love is, how you can love. Because I've got a wee puppy here, and my God, do I love her. She's so helpless. She's so fucking cute and just like a wee bundle of love. How can you not love her? It brings out the love inside of her. So that's what children do. Then you've got the adults, the protectors, the mothers. They give the love. They do this. And then you've got the elders who are like past their sell-by date as far as physicality goes. But they're only stepping into the mental and emotional side. I'm 47. At 40 years old, I couldn't talk like this. But sorry, was it? How can you love when you don't love yourself? Well, listen, this is what this journey is about. This journey is about discovering self-love. That's what life's about. Life is about love. And do you know what? Here's how crazy it is. Do you want to see a psyop? And you've got to recognize this for what it is. Why is it? It is so easy for a society to discuss hate, anger, frustration, heavy metal, murder shows, horrors. It's cool as fuck. But you talk about hugging, you talk about love, you talk about sharing emotions, you talk about standing there and allowing someone to cry, holding a safe space. It's seen as fruit. Get the fuck. It's like all these derogatory tones just come out because it's so removed from what it is we are. That shows you how far we are from who it is we are. That we can't express love without feeling this residual embarrassment. I'm getting to the point where I don't feel embarrassed, but I recognise there's still a wee bit of discomfort when I talk like this in me. That's residual within inside of me that I need to work out where it's coming from and why it is. But I'm now confident to talk about love. I'm now confident to say, this is what we all need. Because every one of us is a wee boy or girl inside. Now, go back to the journey, and I've lost my track completely. Done the journey retreat in March. In that journey, a journey for see that drum behind me, you'd beat a shamanic drum, like, and you close your eyes. And you go, so for me, it's usually to find a tree. You're meant to go on the journey. It's a journey to the subconscious into the lower self. And you'll go up to a tree and you'll ask a tree, are you my tree? And it might respond. And you'll go into the tree and you'll drop down and you'll meet your inner child. And I didn't find the tree work for me. I went into the lagoon, a place that I sat with my dog Jackson. and I would talk to my son Thor, who Gail and I lost, and I'd always talk. I'm talking to my granddad, and I would talk to I would talk to them. I would just always have talk to them and just ask them how they were, and so I discovered that I'm a water baby. I love water. Right, I played water polo in my life. Love swimming. Just water's I'm a Cancerian, and I went under the lagoon and I got into my cabin, my cave. I was in the cave, and I seen my inner child, and fucking hell, the insanity of your subconscious mind. The insanity is, I'm gonna let just because I actually don't care about this. It's like, where the fuck is it? Oh, let me see if I find this crazy journey. This was absolutely insane. Where the fuck is it? Give me 2 minutes here. Polar bear, fire, snake, shrew. Next journey, picking up my little boy. Be kind, grounding. What does it mean? He walked the top. No, this is just insane. The way the subconscious works is just nuts. I can't find it. Don't know where it is. Anyway, basically what happened is I've got you find a spirit animal. My spirit animal is a polar bear, and I was fucking fighting like a Roman legion. I have to find it. I was fighting a Roman legion, and the polar bear fucking came in and started attacking, and I had to protect my inner child, and the polar bear fucking came in and started attacking, and I had to protect my inner child. I get up with my little sister really that much. We'll speak to her now, but I haven't spoken to her for 3 years, and there was one of the journeys that I met her, and my little boy, my inner child, was playing with her, and I had to protect the two of them, and I heard them laughing, and I was crying my eyes out during the journey. But there was one point of the journey where I had this urge to scream in frustration, and I've got a big ah! But when I tried to scream, I hit an octave that I can't hit. It was like a baby, like a 4 or 5 year old child. Like this wee boy's voice just came out going, hey, I can't even hit it. I got my throat crushed in Australia when I was in I was doing a jiu-jitsu BJJ competition in Australia back in 2005, and they done a technique called the Ezekiel, and he done it dirty, and he put his knuckles in and crushed my throat, and I couldn't speak for 3 days, and he crushed my windpipe, and for 3 days I couldn't swallow. I was having to spit and all because I was so sore, and it actually changed my ability to sing. I was actually a decent enough singer until this, so I can't. We hear you go, ah, that's as high as I can hit because of my throat crushed. But this octave went fucking, and I felt my inner child, just like the energy. It was just the most insane experience. So the journey and going to the inner child and discovering your inner child and recognizing that your programs and your experiences that you're having today and the problems that you seem to have on repeat every day, you know, that you experience a similar sort of thing from different people and you blame everyone else. That's a trauma from the past. That's the inner child trying to say, I need you to recognize me. I need to be loved. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. And you're just suppressing it. I'm a tough man. I can do this. And it's just, you're destined to repeat this over and over again until you recognize that you are more than just a 46-year-old man or a 38-year-old woman or whatever it is you are. You're a conglomeration of your fucking experiences. You are a walking embodiment of the emotions you have not expressed. You are a ticking time bomb of fucking pain and angry words and shit you don't need to deal with because you won't look at yourself. That's all we are, and each and every one of us is the same, but each and every one of us is so determined to make sure that no one sees this, because we can't even see it, that we present this, I've got my shit together, and we're given the tools to do just that, so we can identify with that even more, and then when we identify with that even more, we then become it more, and then we lose connection with that inner child, but still he's there lurking or she's there lurking. And any opportunity that she's going to get, what's the crack? I'm going to fuck this situation up. And that's what we're all doing. We're all fucking ourselves up, and we're all trying to get ourselves fit, and we're all trying to lift weights to build ourselves and physically and make ourselves look good, so that we don't have to admit that in the emotional and mental field, we are just we're just a bunch of overweight fat messes who can't even move properly. So, I'm going to go here. Happy Friday, folks, and I'll speak to you all next week.